big picture, and I am really happy that you took the time to watch us this evening. My guest tonight is a man who I've known literally for 2 weeks. His name is John Hand. He's a high school student at Reading High School, and he knows sports up and down, and so I'm really happy to have him here tonight. Welcome, John.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, well, it's been a busy couple of weeks in sports as we get going here tonight. And of course, the biggest thing that we need to talk about first, that we talked about this a little bit in the last show, as we tape this now, the Red Sox season is coming to a close. Thankfully coming to a close, because it has not been a very good season, as we know. As we've gone through the doldrums of this season, John, you know, really the Red Sox have been out of it for a couple of months, and it's just been kind of watching a slow, like an animal on the side of the road slowly die for a couple of months. And I kept thinking to myself in my head, you know, is this the worst Red Sox season ever? And so I want to get some of your thoughts on that. What do you think about that?
I have this as the worst Red Sox season ever. I mean, if you look at the statistics, they're awful. This is the first team to lose 90 games since 1966. That's just not right, especially for a team that's won 2 World Series in 5 years. John Lester went 9-14 with a 4.94 ERA. Josh Beckett goes 5-11 with a 5.23 ERA while he was with the Red Sox. And those are your 2 top pitchers. John Lester was your opening day starter. He's this amazing lefty. He's
supposed to be your ace.
Supposed to be your ace, and he just does not do that this year at all. But the thing that, if you look at other Red Sox teams, there have been bad statistical teams.
Sure.
That word's tough to get out. But you always say, let's get them next year. But this team was so hard to root for me, because there was always storylines coming out of the clubhouse, people going behind other people's backs, dysfunction up and down from coaches not getting along. Of course, Bobby Valentine says today his coaching staff wasn't loyal to him. Text messages being sent. There was high expectations coming into this year, and the Red Sox just did not fulfill them. They have a $175 million payroll coming in, and they did not play like $175 million.
I agree. They were just not a likable team.
Right.
You know, and they had some likable guys on it. Everybody likes Ortiz. Everybody likes Pedroia. You know, but when you really come to it, as a group, they weren't a likable group of people. Because of that, it's hard for us to really say, oh, well, you know, they really tried hard. You know, I'm not saying they didn't try hard. You know, but I went to a game a week ago, and the roster that was put on the field was a AAA roster.
Right.
You know, it was the Pawtucket Red Sox plus Pedroia and Cody Ross, and that was it. And I couldn't help but think, is this really, you know, the team that I paid to come see? And it's not the team. You know, if I wanted to see Pawtucket, I would go to Pawtucket. Right. You know, and that's a great buy if you want to do it, but that's not what I go to Fenway Park for. So I really think that this team, extremely unlikable, and as a result of that, may be one of the worst. Just some statistics that are out there. As we speak right now, we're expecting that they're going to go 69-93. They might win tonight as we tape this. We don't know. But they're going to go 69-93. That's a 426 winning percentage. Worst, as you said, 1965, they lost 100 games. They went 62-100. I do think, however, and I know this, in the early 60s, you know, really up until 1967, nobody expected them to win. There was no expectations for this team. They would sell out opening day, and then they would, you know, the ballpark would be half empty for the rest of the season. You know, that's not the way this team was. They still banged the ballpark out every night because people had bought the tickets way in advance because they expected them to win.
And we're paying $5 for a stupid hot dog.
Yeah.
We want at least 90 wins. Come on.
$5 for a hot dog and $4 for a Coke.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't you at least give us 90 wins?
Exactly.
So I feel, certainly in my lifetime, and in the time that I've been a Red Sox fan since the early to mid-'70s, this is probably the worst Red Sox team I remember. The '94 Red Sox weren't that likable either under Butch Hobson. They only won 54 games in a strike-shortened season. But when I looked back through history, there was one team that stood out to me, and that was the 1932 Red Sox. First of all, if you are out there and you remember the 1932 Red Sox and you watched them, you know, congratulations on being alive, because that's terrific. I'm really happy for you. The 1932 Red Sox won 43 and won 11. That is, they lost 111 games for a .279 winning percentage. But I also know about the 1930s is that nobody cared about the Red Sox.
Right.
They never sold any tickets. Half the ballpark burned down, and they didn't even bother rebuilding it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a fact, by the way. Half the ballpark burned down. They didn't even bother rebuilding it. Nobody cared. I think because the fact that we genuinely expected this team to at least be in contention.
Right.
We didn't necessarily think this was a World Series team,
Right.
but we expected them to be in contention this year. We expected them to be right in it to the very end with the new postseason format we're going to talk about in just a second. The fact that they totally fell flat on their faces is an extreme disappointment, making them, in my opinion, as in yours, the worst Red Sox team that in our memories,
Right.
at least, and certainly the worst Red Sox team that I ever followed. Your opinion, Bobby Valentine, keeps his job, loses his job?
I gotta say, loses his job. I mean, we just went through for all the reasons
Right,
he should lose
right.
his job. The one thing I think that he might be able to keep his job is that, one, he was not even able to pick his own coaching staff, so he didn't really have he went into a suicide mission. This team had the worst collapse. There was beer and chicken in the clubhouse, so it was a suicide mission for him. And the next replacement guy cannot be another one-year rebound manager. It has to be a long-term guy who's going to take this team to the World Series. It has to be another Terry Francona manager. So unless they can find that guy, maybe he does stick around. But Red Sox Nation does not like Bobby Valentine. So for that reason, I'm pretty sure he will get the boot.
Yeah, I think, it would be a huge PR blunder to keep Bobby Valentine. Whether or not you agree or disagree with whether or not he did a decent job or deserves another chance next year, I think just the fact that the fans really don't want him here, it would be a gigantic PR blunder to keep him here. Just to point out also, 69 wins this year. Terry Francona's team last year won 90 games, and he lost his job.
Right, yeah.
So when you set the bar high, you got to expect that kind of thing to happen.
One more quick thing about Valentine in his defense. He did not have his full roster one day this year.
That's
So
right.
he had a lot of injuries plagued this team. Still, a lot of toxic, a lot of...
Yeah. To me, he did have a lot of injuries. That doesn't, and you can maybe almost excuse some of the record, on that. But it's the off the field stuff, that,
Right.
And I feel as though Bobby Valentine never made it better. He always had the tendency to make it worse.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not the job of the manager. The job
Yeah.
of the manager is to make it better, or at least make it feel better. And Terry Francona was a master at that.
Right.
And Bobby Valentine was absolutely not.
Terry Francona and Bobby Valentine are complete opposites.
Complete opposites.
It was
so
tough
I agree with
transition.
you. The next Red Sox manager needs to be a long-term guy, and I think you give him a 4-year contract. And you say, 4 years, you got it, let's go and see what we can do. Regardless of what happens in terms of record and all that kind of thing, we're giving you 4 years. Let's do it in 4 years and see what happens. All right, well, the baseball season is coming to a close as we speak. One of the great things with the format that they have this year is that we're in the last day of the season currently as we tape this show, and we're not 100% certain who's playing who in the playoffs yet because there are still a couple things to be decided. So first off, new playoff format, John, where there's 2 wildcard teams. Those 2 wildcard teams are going to play a 1-game playoff for the privilege of playing in the divisional round following that. Do you like it? Do you not like it?
I like it a lot. It did screw the Red Sox over the season because they went on that belief that maybe we can get in the postseason, win this 1 game, and then get on and on and on. But other than that, I do like it because in baseball a lot you see these series during the regular season, series in the postseason, and it comes down to 1 game. I mean, this is new land for the MLB. Managers have to learn how to manage just one game. Players are going to have to learn how to play 1 game, and you don't know what to do. Do you throw your best pitcher? Do you throw your number 3 pitcher? How early do you use the bullpen? How late do you use the bullpen? What do you do? So it's going to be exciting to see. And right now, there looks like there could be some pretty good matchups for this 1 game. And I'm really excited to see how this plays out.
Yeah, we don't know exactly what the matchups are going to be at this point, but we do know the teams.
Right.
So in the American League, we have Oakland, Texas, Detroit, Baltimore, and the Yankees. First of all, how awesome is it that Oakland and Baltimore are there? I mean, if the Red Sox can't be there, it's awesome that we got some new teams to look at. Who do you see? We don't know the matchups yet, so we're not going to talk series to series, but who do you see coming out of this mess? Who do you have in the World Series?
I have the Tigers right now. I mean, they're riding Miguel Cabrera, 98% chance he wins the Triple Crown. So when you look at the Giants in the football, they were 9-7 regular season. They get hot right at the end of the season. They go to the Super Bowl. They win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Tigers, they have Justin Verlander. After that, their pitching rotation isn't great, but if they can ride Justin Verlander and Miguel Cabrera, this team can go to the World Series. You obviously have the Yankees who've been there and the Rangers who have been there, but the Tigers stay hot. I have them going to the World Series.
Okay, I agree with you. I think the Tigers were actually my pick for the World Series at the beginning of the season.
You know what you're talking about.
So I love Verlander. I think he's the best pitcher in the majors. I do think you can ride the back of one stud pitcher.
Yeah.
If he pitches twice in a series, you only have to win in the first series one other game. So I think you can ride a pitcher into the World Series. Cabrera, and some of the other pieces they have there really they're the team to beat, I think. The Yankees are older, not looking that hot at the end of the season. They kind of fell off at the end of the season. A 10-game lead in the division that they lost, and it's hard to pick that up
Red
again.
Sox-esque.
Very Red Sox-esque, And Texas has been there a couple times in a row. I think Texas is probably the biggest challenge for the Tigers in the American League. But it'd be fun to see Oakland again. It's been a while since they've been around, and of course it's been forever since Baltimore has been in. So it'll be fun to see what happens there. National League.
I have the Giants going in there. I have the Nationals, Giants, ALCS. The Nationals, even without Steven Strasburg, have a very good pitching staff. So I think that could really go either way. But I did throw the Giants in there because they have been there before. They have two great pitchers in Tim Lincecum and Matt Cain. Matt Cain's thrown a no-hitter this year. So I do have the Giants-Tigers World Series.
Giants are a great team. It seems like they don't even miss Melky Cabrera, which is a good thing, and we talked about him 2 episodes ago. We do have San Francisco, St. Louis, Cincinnati, Atlanta, Washington going into the NLCS. Again, we don't know what the matchups are going to be in what rounds. My opinion, and I would love to see this, is Cincinnati. Cincinnati in the World Series would be a terrific thing. I don't think Fox Sports is going to like a Cincinnati-Detroit World Series because they like to have the big markets, and those aren't exactly the largest markets in the world. But I think it would be a fun series. Cincinnati-Detroit would be a great series. Cincinnati-Texas would be a great series. Washington and anybody would be a great series. I'm not a big fan of the Giants. Never have been. I don't know. Maybe because it's a holdover of Barry Bonds. I don't know what it is. But they do have a good team, and so we'll see what happens there. Just to finish up this first segment, this first half, because it goes very quickly, we reached the end of the season, end of the baseball season. Who do you think right now is the best player in Major League Baseball?
To me, it's Albert Pujols. A few names crossed my mind. Melky Cabrera, obviously great season this year. Roy Halladay, always great. Justin Verlander, another dominating pitcher. Albert Pujols this year did have a down year. He's hitting only .289 for him, which is very bad. Career, he's a .325 hitter. 475 home runs, 9-time All-Star, 3-time MVP, 2-time World Series champion, and on top of all this powerful hitting, he has 2 Gold Gloves, so he can do it in the field too. Does it everywhere. So he's my best player in the MLB. I think the biggest thing is he's won 2 World Series. He's a champion.
Yep,
so
there we go. Well, I think Pujols has been in a 3rd one too. Remember,
right?
So I think Pujols is a great choice. He is the anchor of my fantasy team. But I have to go with Miguel Cabrera. And you and I thought about this question a little differently when we posed it. But when I look at Cabrera this season, 331, 44 home runs, 139 RBIs, has great shot of winning the Triple Crown, first one since Carl Yastrzemski in '67. And so if I had to start a team today and I had to pick a player that was going to play on my team this week, I would pick Miguel Cabrera as my best player in Major League Baseball. All right, well, that is the first half. By the way, I have Verlander as the best pitcher in baseball. I think you can make a great argument for Halladay or Hernandez also, but I have Verlander as the best pitcher. Well, that is the end of the first half of the big picture. We have a lot of baseball talk, but we're going to kind of put the baseball talk aside in the second half and look at a couple of other things. We hope that you will join us. We have a few messages from our friends here, and so we'll be back in just a moment here on the big picture. Hello and welcome back to the big picture. We had a terrific first half. Really enjoyed talking some baseball with John here. My name is Kevin Vendt. I am the host of The Big Picture. This is John Hand. He's my guest tonight. And we are going to be hitting mostly football in the second half because that's what we're all about, baseball and football at this point in time. Just for those of you who are interested, we will be hitting basketball and hockey pretty soon. There's not a whole lot to talk about in hockey right now. But we will be hitting some basketball preview in a couple weeks. So stay tuned to The Big Picture as you see it, and we will be hitting that. But we're going to start off talking about some football. Are we ready? Are we ready for some football? Finally, after 3 weeks of some pretty hideous refereeing, the regular officials were back at their posts this past Sunday and as we continue forward here. John, first question out of the box. Did you notice a difference between what you saw on Sunday with the replacement refs and with the regular refs? Absolutely,
I saw the difference. I mean, it was pretty obvious. There was a lot less flags thrown, I thought, and when the flags were thrown, there was a clear penalty on the play. They did make a few mistakes here and there, but no one's perfect. So
sure.
I definitely think it was a clear difference. I also thought a kind of interesting observation I had was that the commentators weren't as hard on these referees as they were the replacement referees. So I thought that was kind of interesting how they had more respect, and the players weren't playing after the whistle as much as they had with the replacement referees. Yeah. So definitely a lot of respect for these guys, and they respect the calls, and I think it was a better officiating job than what we saw with the replacements.
Yeah, I mean, especially I think when you talk about the commentators, I think you're absolutely right about the commentators.
Yeah.
They were all over the refs in week 3. I mean, they were all over them. And in week 4, they barely mentioned them.
Yeah.
Barely mentioned them. Once they got past that, everybody was all excited. They were there and hand slapping and all that kind of thing. It was rare to mention the refs for the rest of the game. And I think that's a good thing for football.
Yeah.
The refs are not supposed to make that big a difference. It's supposed to be about the game, and it's supposed to be about the players and the athletic feats of, thrill of victory and all that kind of stuff. That's what it's supposed to be about. It's not supposed to be about the refs. There were some bad calls, particularly the Green Bay game had some issues at the very end where Green Bay and the Saints had received a kickoff return and they clearly fumbled, and Green Bay recovered, but the ref said that he was down by contact. When you see the video review, it's clear it was a blown call. Could have cost Green Bay the game, didn't cost them the game. But as you said, everybody's human. What I saw with the new refs in place, or the regular refs in place, was that just the gameplay was a whole lot smoother. Yeah. The game flowed the way you expect it to flow. He said the flags were only there for penalties that are clear and obvious. It wasn't kind of random. And so I think it is a much better game with the regular refs. So I assume you're happy with that?
Yeah, yeah, definitely happy with that. It's great I actually love the fact that they gave them the applause at the beginning of the game. Yeah. Usually they just kind of blend into the stadium.
Sure.
But everyone is very happy to see them back. And one other quick little note is ESPN the other week on SportsCenter showed one of the replacement refs back reffing high school. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, we'll be good. For the rest of their lives, they're going to be able to say they reffed in the NBA.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Cool stories.
Yeah, I'm sure some of these guys are very good, terrific, in fact, high school refs and Division III college refs. But the speed of the game, way too much for them. I think they were intimidated by the coaches and by the players. And it was just good to have the regular refs back. So thanks for coming back. We appreciate that, and let's get on with the games. And it's just sad that it took a horrendous call in that Monday Night Football game to really make it happen. I think it's one of the few occasions where the fans actually forced a change in a league or something like that, where the fans just got all over them.
I was actually wondering, if this didn't happen, what if a fan boycott happened, where we say, even if not a large amount, but a good amount, decided, let's not watch this game, or let's not go to this game.
Yeah.
It would affect the owners. And right when the replacement refs were on the field, it wasn't really directly affecting the owners, so they didn't really care.
Sure.
It generated interest in the NFL and the games. People were tuning in to see what happens. So if people weren't spending money, the owners weren't making money, I think that would definitely affect it. And
one other, right about that. Yeah.
One other thing that would definitely, I'm happy didn't happen. It happened once, and I'm happy it didn't happen too much, was player safety. There was that one hit with the Raiders game. He had Darius Hayward-Bay had to leave the game. I'm happy that didn't happen too much, and the players are now much safer with these regular refs.
I think they're much safer, and I would have said I had never seen a worse officiated game than the Sunday night Patriots-Ravens game until I watched the Monday night Green Bay game, and that was obviously just terrible. So it's good to have the regular refs back, and we're very happy about that. It's time for me to go to my rant, Kevin's weekly rant on The Big Picture. And here we go. I want to rant about the elite quarterback situation. In our last episode, I talked about elite quarterbacks and who I thought I would choose for elite quarterbacks. I mentioned Tom Brady, I mentioned Aaron Hernandez, I mentioned Drew Brees, and I mentioned Peyton Manning, based primarily on their careers as well as just some intangibles. And I heard some feedback, not so much about, everyone seems to agree on Brady and Manning and Rodgers, but I heard some feedback from people about Drew Brees. And why would I pick Drew Brees, who's only won one Super Bowl, as opposed to, say, Ben Roethlisberger or Eli Manning, who have each won 2 Super Bowls? And why would I choose him as an elite quarterback as opposed to one of those others? My reason was simple. I didn't express this clearly last time, so in my rant, I'm expressing it this time, and that is this. If I were to start a team today, and I couldn't have Brady, and I couldn't have Manning, and I couldn't have Aaron Rodgers, I would choose Drew Brees as my quarterback if I had to choose one of the quarterbacks in the league, the way they play today. And to me, that makes him elite status. I would not choose Eli Manning. I think he's way too inconsistent as a quarterback. Even though he's won those 2 Super Bowls, he outplayed Brady and played very well in those Super Bowls. He's way too inconsistent as a week-to-week quarterback to be an elite quarterback in my mind. Ben Roethlisberger is kind of the same way. I just don't see him having the arm strength and the ability that the other quarterbacks have. He has some great scrambling ability. He's gigantic. He's hard to bring down. He is a proven winner. But at the end of the day, if I had to choose between Roethlisberger, Manning, and Brees as a quarterback to start a new team today, we'll call them the Vented Frustrations, I would choose, of those 3, I would choose Drew Brees. So that's my weekly rant. That is my 4 elite quarterbacks. You can argue that till you're blue in the face, but I'm not going to change my position in the league this day. Those are the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. And that was the rant of the week. Okay, well, as we return to the NFL, actually we never left the NFL. Cool off a little bit. The New England Patriots have obviously blessed us over the last 10 or 11 years with some terrific play. Since the Krafts took over, way back in '93 actually, they've been in 6 Super Bowls, 5 in the last 12 years, or last 11 years since Bill Belichick has been around. And one of the things that I always like to talk about is retired numbers. Yeah. It's kind of one of my pet passions, and I look at who they retired numbers of, and why that kind of thing. In Boston sports, the Red Sox and the Bruins are probably a little stingy on the numbers that they retire. They only retire a couple of them. I think in particular the Red Sox have a few more they could retire. They have
rules surrounding
They have rules that they kind of break when they feel like it. I believe they should have, this could be part of the rant. They should have retired Carlton Fisk's number, but they broke the rules. So once they broke the rules, now they retired Pesky's number also. They absolutely should have done that, but it broke the rules. So let's just say, for argument's sake with the Red Sox, the rules don't exist anymore. And that means, in my mind, retire number 24, Dwight Evans, please. Now we're on that.
Back to football.
Back to football. All right, Red Sox and Bruins probably a little too stingy. On the other side of the coin are the Celtics. The Celtics retire way too many numbers. All right, it's like the Celtics retire so many numbers, they're going to start running out of them. They're going to have to start having players in the 60s and 70s and 80s with numbers on them because they retire way too many numbers. And even now, you're saying probably on the team they have now, there's going to be probably 2 numbers retired, at least. Probably Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett are going to be retired. So 34 and 5 are going to be gone.
Rondo
Maybe even Rondo in a few years after that, depending on how long, what he does and all that. As it is in the 30s, the Celtics basically have no numbers left. I mean, they're completely gone. So they're a little too easy. The Patriots fall somewhere in the middle. They have retired a number of numbers over the years. They've done a good job at assessing the numbers that they retire, but I've been wondering, because of this excellent streak that they've been on over the last couple of years, they really ought to be retiring some numbers out of these teams. For argument's sake and for the sake of this discussion, we're going to presume that they're going to retire Tom Brady's number.
I would assume so.
That's pretty obvious, and a multiple MVP, multiple Super Bowl winner, best quarterback, if not ever, in the league. Certainly, he's in the discussion in the top 5 best quarterbacks of all time in the league. It's without question the best quarterback in Patriots history. So they're going to retire Brady's number. Apart from Brady himself, whose numbers do you think they retire from this season of Patriots football, from this time period of Patriots football?
I have number 54 being retired, Teddy Bruschi. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion. He's been to 5 Super Bowls, as we talked about earlier. He was the captain of the defense. He was a leader on the team. He was a comeback player of the year in 2005, which I think speaks a tremendous amount about him. Just battling from a stroke to come back and being a great football player, contributing to this team and helping them achieve the things they've achieved in the past couple of years. So that's definitely been that's definitely a number I think that should be retired. The next number I want to see retired is number 72 from Matt Light. He plays an underrated position at offensive line.
Right.
Part of Tom Brady's success has been from the offensive line.
Sure.
He's always been protected. He protected his blind side absolutely great.
Mm-hmm.
Every year Brady's played quarterback, except this year obviously. He's had Matt Light there protecting his blind side.
And I think some of the early troubles of the Patriots this year have been because the offensive line has been a little shaky.
Correct.
And
yep.
part of that is Matt Light's retirement.
Right. And he bought into the Patriot way, which people talk about a lot. You know, always working hard, leave the ego at the door, do what you're told, and just go out there and do it. And he's no doubt in my mind done that. Great Patriot. And the last number I have we'll see what happens. Right now, I would retire it, is number 83 for Wes Welker. If you were to say, I'm done playing football today, I'd put his number up there because he's led the league 3 times in receptions. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler. In 2011, led the league in receiving yards. He's over 1,000. He's 3 times he's received over 1,000 yards. He's the definition of a workhorse. Every drill. I mean, you hear stories at the Pro Bowl. Players get mad at him because he just goes hard on the drills and and that's a fun game.
And as of last Sunday, he is the Patriots' all-time receptions leader.
Correct. Yeah.
So
top target for Brady. He's worked hard his whole career. He's an undrafted free agent. Has that chip on his shoulder, much like Brady. So I would definitely put 83 up there. And one more number, wouldn't retire right now. I think by the end of his career it'll be retired. Is 51 for Gerard Mayo. Kind of Brewski-esque, captain of the defense, plays hard. Good defensive player, so we'll see where he ends up. He still has a long career.
Yeah, Gerard Mayo regularly leads the team in tackles every year, and typically is right up there in terms of the league and leading the league in tackles as well. Little young in his career, but we'll see what happens with him. Hopefully, he has a great career with the Patriots, and we'll be able to talk about him as one of the great Patriot linebackers, in coming years. I'm a little shaky on Wes Welker. He hasn't been here. I mean, it sounds crazy because he's been here for 5 years now, 5-6 seasons. He wasn't here for the Super Bowl wins, and I think that may hurt him when it comes time to look at retiring numbers, unless they win one. If they win this year, next year while he's here, and he's a big part of that, which you would expect him to be, then maybe that changes. But he wasn't part of the Super Bowl wins. He has been here for 2 Super Bowl teams, just not one that won. Looking at some of the numbers that have been retired in the past, Andre Tippett, Steve Nelson, John Hanna, Bruce Armstrong, notice one thing that I noticed, Gino Cappelletti, is very few skill positions.
Yeah.
They're always for the Patriots, the best players have always been the linesmen and the linebackers and all those kind of guys. A kicker, Cappelletti. And that kind of leads me to a couple of guys that I would add to your list. I think that Troy Brown's number ought to be retired,
Definitely.
number 80. Always one of my favorites. I always called him first down Troy Brown because it seemed like every time he caught the ball, they got a first down. Wes Welker's like that too.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like Troy Brown would go 11 yards and turn, and Brady would hit him, and boom, first down, first down, first down, first down. He was a part of all those Super Bowl teams going all the way back even to the '96 Super Bowl. When he retired, he was the Patriots' leader in all-time receptions, since broken by Welker. He did everything the team asked him to do. Like Welker again, he returned punts, he returned kickoffs, he even played defense.
Yeah.
When recalled in that season, was it 2006 when they were just kind of falling apart, on the defense. And he did everything, and he is a true number 1 Patriot.
The Patriot way.
The Patriot way. When I think of the Patriot way, I think of Troy Brown.
Definitely.
Another guy who I think is my favorite player on the team, who I would retire. He's got several more years in his career, but I think assuming he stays with the Patriots and continues to be a big name player, is Vince Wilfork, number 75. I think eventually will be retired. He's got a couple of Super Bowl rings. He's the anchor of the defense, the defensive line, and it's just a beast. You saw that hit he put on Sunday was unbelievable. And honestly, I would seriously consider Adam Vinatieri.
Yeah,
Adam Vinatieri.
He helped them win the Super Bowl.
He helped them win 3 Super Bowls. He was the winning kick in 2 of those Super Bowls. We'll never forget the Oakland game in 2001 where he kicked the big field goal in the snow at the end of the game, and then right after that. So those are my Patriots players that I would retire, adding on to John's list. Well, we are all out of time here on The Big Picture. It goes by so fast, but we are just have a load of fun talking sports, and we had a great time tonight. Thank you, John, for being here, for pitching in, and for doing a great job. I hope that you enjoyed watching us here on The Big Picture. We invite you to watch us as many times as you would like as we're on. And
DVR us.
DVR us and all that, and we'll be back at some time soon. Thank you and good evening.